Hi, Lauren, Danielle, thanks for joining me today. Glad you could come.
Hello.
And hello to all the students out there who are joining us. I'm back for another discussion of drama, and I've asked Danielle and Lauren to join me so we can talk a little bit about the play Sure Thing by David Ives. It's one of your one-act play choices. And I thought, since you'll be out there working by yourself, trying to figure this out, you might want to see what a few other people would say during a discussion of a play. So I'll lead it, ask a few questions, and I'm going to let Danielle and Lauren give us some ideas for this particular play. All right, so the setting of the play, Sure Thing. Where did David Ives set this play? What is it set in?
Set in a cafe.
All right, why do you think he chose the cafe to put these characters together?
Because it's romantic.
A romantic setting for a romantic play. That's a possibility. What else works about this little table for two, Danielle?
It's casual and cozy, and it is a good place for conversation.
That's right, and it's that intimacy that lends itself to what happens between Betty and Bill. It's also a place where Betty can be sitting alone, reading a book, and Bill has the opportunity to come in and approach her. So he chose a setting that fits the action he wants to convey. All right, good job. Let's talk about those two characters, Betty and Bill. All right, how would you describe Betty? Anybody got some adjectives for her?
Snappy.
She's a snappy girl, Lauren says. Why would you say that, Lauren?
Because when Bill says something, as in being a player, she snaps back.
And can you
Doesn't
give us a
matter.
line? I like the personality that Betty conveys, and really all we have are her words. She doesn't really get up and even leave the table, so her words have to tell us all about her character. Give us an example.
So Bill says, "Would you mind if I sit here?" And she goes, "Yes, I would." No normal person usually will say that.
She's blunt. She's forthright. Danielle, do you have another example of Betty's characterization?
You could just tell she's standoffish. She doesn't want to talk to him. He'll ask her, sorry.
No, take your time. It's good. This is exactly what we should do at home when we ponder these plays. We take the time to look. What'd you find?
Bill tries to have conversation with her. He's like, oh, you know, it seems to be crowded. Every place seems to be taken. And she's just like, mm-hmm. She just brushes him off. And he was like, great place. And she's like, mm-hmm. She doesn't want to give him an answer. She's just kind of short with him.
Good example, because she's not on the look. She's not here to pick up guys, at least not by stating it overtly. We don't know if she maybe was hoping for a Bill to come along, but the whole romance doesn't get off on a very good start. It's all about Bill and what he wants. Can I sit here? Can I join you? And all about Betty being distant, aloof, and pushing him away. So we learn a little bit about Betty, but does Bill give up?
No.
No.
He's persistent.
Persistent is a great word to use to describe Bill. And let's look at some of his lines so we can see what his character's like. What kind of things does old Bill the player say as he's trying to pick up Betty?
So Betty asks, "Where was college?" Bill says, "I was lying. I never really went to college. I just like to party."
And that's one moment when Bill says the truth. He tries to impress her, right? He gives all these big fancy colleges. But how does he get away with suddenly saying, I was lying? How does he get still? Does he win Betty's attention when she's not interested? And when he has, some attributes that are not the most winning characteristics, what helps Bill?
The bell lets him start over. Every time he messes something up, he can just start over and say something that he thinks she wants to hear.
That's right, and he's clued in, right? Because the bell lets him give that fresh start. I heard her say, I like the book. Oh, I'll like that book. Bill has insights. Wouldn't you do a great job meeting people with that kind of a device? The bell lets us have these do-overs. And the bell is called a dramatic device in this play because it influences the action. These guys get together only because the bell. Bill would never have made the first, it wouldn't even got to sit at the chair if he hadn't been able to get these forgivenesses by the bell. So David Ives gives us this bell. Does it add humor to the play?
Absolutely.
All right, because we get to hear these mess-ups and we get to see how he fixes it. Anything in there you can give as an example what made you laugh when you were going through it? Take a minute and see if you can see where maybe David Ives was trying to be funny. Because some of his humor is understated humor. He doesn't have people falling down the steps or getting hit with pies, but there are these little zingers, these little tiny one-liners that are meant to make the audience laugh. Danielle, did you find one?
In one part, while they're making small talk, he says, you know, I don't come here as much, not as much as I used to before my nervous breakdown. And then he gets to start over, because obviously that's not something Betty wants to hear.
But the audience gets to know. Good one. Anybody else got another one? Lauren?
Let's see.
Yeah, I love it when he's bragging about his achievements, but then we get to see the truth about Bill. We know things about Bill that Betty, thanks to the bell, never gets to hear.
Oh, Betty goes, what sort of girlfriend? And he goes, my mother.
And these are things the audience is laughing at, but Betty, of course, the bell erases it all, and we don't see that Bill is maybe kind of a lame guy living in his mom's basement, all right? One of the other things I thought we might want to ask about is the profanity in this play. You know, there are some words here you don't typically find in your classroom assignments. Why do you think David Ives uses the B-I-T-C-H word and even the F word in this play? What do you think that's all about?
Well, typically people don't censor everything they say, so when you say something and it just comes out, sometimes it can be very funny, even though it wasn't meant to be.
That it does add to the humor. I think you're exactly right, Lauren. That's a good point. And what else does it do, Danielle?
I think he's trying to be a realist. Like when Betty kind of puts Bill in his place and says, oh, this is just what you want from me. I think he's, you know, trying to set the scene for what a normal female who's just trying to read a book by herself would think if a guy is constantly pushing and pushing and pushing.
Great answer, because it is a realistic depiction of human nature. And I think that it's also about relationships, and that's going to be our last point. What is this writer in this play saying about men and women, maybe in a dating situation, and about the power that maybe one has over the other? Any comments about this as a dating theme?
Well, Bill is a very nervy boy.
He's pushy, he's up front. Do guys really act like Bill?
Yes.
Yes. So he brings out sort of maybe in an exaggerated way the pushy, insistent guy who won't take no for an answer, who is, you know, determined to get the attentions of a girl even when she's standoffish, right? Realistic, but true. So who holds the power in that situation?
Betty.
Betty holds the power, and she knows it in the beginning, but the device disables Betty's power, right? The bell keeps her in the dark about some of Bill's secrets. So, do you think people when they're dating are mostly like Bill or mostly like Betty? Do a lot of people add things, oh, I went to this college when I didn't really go, or I read that book when I didn't really read it?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are more like Bill. They're smooth talkers. They want to tell you what they want you to hear. And it obviously broke Betty down eventually.
Yeah, because what's the ending here? Do we have the happy ending that Bill wanted? Yes. In fact, I mean, I think they're talking marriage at the end. How long do you give their marriage?
Not very,
Like
till the bell rings.
Until the bell rings. Excellent, Danielle. On that note, we're going to finish our discussion. I hope it helps you see how you can go through understanding a play, looking at characters, actions, what they say, where it is set, and of course the outcome. Enjoy Sure Thing and the other one-act plays located in your lessons, and email me if you have any questions. Thanks. And thanks Danielle and Lauren too. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Was that easy?